Hello, welcome back everyone. So did you watch the last video about the food, like this baker with this son and like doing the bread together? Oh my god, so sweet, really. Sweet them and sweet the bread, both of them. If you miss it, we're gonna download the video and we're gonna make it available for everyone in any case. So now it's the time for the live of Brotbakery from Vermont, and they're gonna show us how to make sourdough, like a very pro sourdough, and also how to make breakfast scones. So now let's all go to their profile. It's called the Brotbakery, and let's watch them from there. Hello, welcome back everyone.
Hello everyone, welcome. Can everybody hear me? I'm just gonna go back and it's gonna turn back to me. Yes, and let's see what we're gonna turn around here. Let's see if everybody can hear me. No, so I see all the comments. Can everybody hear me and see me? I hope so. Let's see if anybody can get like some thumbs up from you guys so you can hear me or see me. Let's see. Do I get a thumbs up from somebody that they can hear me? So we are doing the live video here. I'm thinking I would love to see somebody telling me that they can hear me right now. So maybe you can wave like to me or just send me a comment, everybody, like that you can hear me. Everybody's here now, and I'm starting the video now, and I am live, so I hope you can hear me, everybody. I can just kind of wave to somebody. Let's see, somebody here. That I can wave to. See if everybody can hear me. I'm just gonna see if that video is bad. Oh, I can't. Oh, we can hear you now. I can. Everybody comes in. We can hear you. Audio is good. Video is bad. Okay, good. So the video hopefully will stabilize. As you probably know, we are out in the middle of nowhere in northern Vermont, and I'm trying to stabilize the video so you can all at least kind of see something. I'm going to welcome you all first, and we only have like half an hour, so I want to jump right into the sourdough making, and hopefully the video stabilizes and I'm not going to talk too much. So I'm just going to switch off a couple of networks here, so hopefully that will work. And let me just turn that off, and then I'll turn this guy off here. And then I'm just going to go over to the sourdough on the other side here, and everybody can see that. Yeah. Now I'm turning off this too. And I'm just going to go over and hope everybody can see me here. And I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of a very simple way to make a sourdough. As you all know, maybe I'm not sure how experienced everyone is, but I'm trying to just give you a very basic idea of how to make a sourdough culture. And you might have seen a lot already today. I know in Europe you're a couple of hours ahead. So I have here my really nice and super ripe sourdough culture, and you can see it's very, very active. It has a lot of air bubbles coming along here, and I also have brought here a culture that I kept in my fridge for quite a while. So this one here you can see has like almost no activity left. So here you can see there's no air bubbles, not much activity. Here you can see this is very active. So how do I get a really active, nice sourdough starter to get going? Well, all you need really is a good mix of flour, water, and a good temperature. So what we are going to do is I'm going to show you right now how you would make a sourdough starter that with an already, where you already have a little bit of culture. And I always recommend people getting a live culture from somebody. I'm sure there are many, many people around that you know right now who already have one. So it would be best if you can just find somebody or even post it online or wherever, if somebody's in your area and could give you a little bit of starter culture. That way it's much easier to get your own culture going because you already have a ripe culture here and you only need flour and water, basically. That's all you need. And we are using some rye flour here that I have, which is local rye flour from a local farm, but you can use basically any flour that you have on hand. So I'm just gonna go around here and just check if I got any comments of somebody not hearing me well, but it does look like you all do. So this is the basic principle of the refreshing we are gonna go through. So just imagine this is something I got from a friend here, and my friend gave me a little bit of culture so I can make my own starter now. So I would take this culture home, and I just like to keep it in a nice little glass because then I can see what's happening. But you can also keep it in a yogurt container or any other container that you have. And then you're just gonna take that to your kitchen. You prepare some water and some flour. And then you're just gonna use a scale, best if you have, to weigh out the exact amount of starter and water and flour. And why we're doing that, like instead of using like cups, like what it's very common to use cups in the US especially, not so much in Europe, but this is going to need to be very precise because you're only using about 20% starter culture to refresh your starter and to refresh your sourdough. And if you are really just working with teaspoons and cups, you're not really getting the exact amount of culture to flour and water because the amount is really not so big. Like you're only really refreshing a little tiny amount of flour. You're making a little tiny amount of starter culture. So, you know, even like half a teaspoon or a teaspoon off would kind of throw off your whole ratio of culture to water and flour. So a scale is really helpful here. So I'm going to scale out, first of all, I'm actually going to scale out a little bit of water. And because I'm actually quite lazy and not really good at math, I'm keeping it very simple by just using the same amount every time, and that would be 100 grams. 100 grams is like super easy because, you know, it's just easy math. So 100 grams for me also, if I know that I'm using 20% starter every time I refresh my sourdough, then 20% of 100 is also quite easy to remember and to do the math. So I'm going to scale out 100 grams of water, and then I add the starter. culture, the one, just imagine that was the one that my friend gave me. And I'll just take a little bit off, and I'll take 20% off whatever the amount is that he gave me or that you got from your baker. And I'm just scaling out 20 grams now, because it's kind of like what I'm doing here. So 20 grams. I'm just trying to be really exact. So I'm at 20 here. And what I do is I really stir it in very, very well. I stir that in really nicely. So I really make sure that all the starter culture is like really well dissolved in the water. And then I'm going to add some flour to that. I just add another 100 grams. And the ratio of water and flour is the same. So if I'm using 100 grams of water, I'm using 100 grams of flour. So this is good. I'm just gonna, I already scaled that out this morning, so I know it's 100. So I have that in here. And now I start stirring that up. Now very nice reminder here that we only have a few minutes left. And I'm going to stir that in really, really well here. So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to turn that around again. So I have the culture in my hand here. I'll just stir that in really well. So everything is really nice. And then you're gonna have a paste-like consistency here, like this. So it's really like, it looks like a thick paste, especially if you're using rye. Rye flour will always kind of give you more like a paste. And I always like to use rye flour in my culture. It gives a very nice, kind of taste to everything you bake. And I use the rye flour really for everything. I use it even like for my scones, and for even like wheat bread, I use the rye starter just to have a little bit even of rye in everything I have. It's a very nice active starter, and I just like the taste. And it's also something we can get locally here. So I really enjoy, that. So I have the starter ready. I'm just gonna wipe off the edge here. I'm gonna take a lid. I'm just gonna put a lid on it, and it's really nice. I can, kind of see now what's happening. So I leave that out on the counter, and I just basically have that sitting there on room temperature for about 6 hours or so until I really see a visible activity. And if I see the activity of like really nice bubbly activity in the glass, at that point I would actually put it in the fridge, and then I leave it in the fridge until I really I need to use it. That way I'm not refreshing every single day, which would mean that you would use a lot of flour. You would also basically have to think about it every morning or every day. It will consume a little bit of time if you do that. Of course, you could refresh your starter every single day, but you can also put it in the fridge. It's totally fine if you let it come to room temperature, let the activity start to develop, and then you would just put it in the fridge right after that. And then you would leave it there until it's ready to use, and you would just kind of use however, all the culture that you need. You would try to remember, how much do I have in here? So we had 100 grams of water, 100 grams of flour, 20 grams of starter culture. So we have 220 grams in here. So if your recipe would call for a certain amount of sourdough, you would just have to think like, how much do you have? And do I maybe have to refresh it a day or so ahead of time to get to the amount that is needed for my recipe? So I'm going to open it up for comments or questions. If anybody has any questions, you can just kind of like type them in right now. I know that there is a delay, so I didn't really see anything coming in until like probably a good delay, but I'm trying to answer questions when they come in before we go over to the biscuits. So these, if you have any questions regarding the sourdough starter, then yeah, you're very welcome to type them in right now. And let's see if there are any coming in. So I don't really see anything happening now. So I think maybe it's my internet connection is like too slow to pick up on your questions. So let's see. We're gonna go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, keeping the discard to a minimum. I think that's a really nice question. So as you could see in the beginning, what I was showing was that I do have. I had 2 glasses, right? Remember the one that I was just refreshing? And then I had one that I pulled off the fridge that was kind of dormant and kind of like sluggish looking. And this one is the one that I actually going to use for the recipe now for our biscuits. So what I do is I actually, with the method of like just refreshing the starter once a week, because I put it in the fridge and leave it there until it's ready to use. And I'll just refresh it like so every week or so, just to make sure that it keeps active to a certain degree. Basically, I'm keeping it dormant in the fridge until I'm ready to use it. And at this point, if I have like a glass of discard like I have today, I'll just make biscuits. And that's really, that's perfect. I'll just do that every weekend because I refresh every Sunday. And so I have 1 glass of discard culture, and that's really what I'm going to use in the biscuits. So I'm going to turn that around now, the picture again, and then I'll show you basically in a very quick way how to make the biscuits. We scaled everything out ahead of time so we would have a bit more time. But the recipe, I think, will be available through the Slow Food Youth Network. And also, of course, you can email me at brotbakery.com, at heike@brotbakery.com, or just go on my website and check out the email, and I sent you the recipe, and I sent you the feeding instruction again for the sourdough. So what we will do right now is we will just kind of bring everything together for the biscuits. And the biscuits are super, super, super simple. What I did is I actually scaled out some flour already. And you can use wheat flour works best, but you can also use like spelt or einkorn or emmer, whatever you like, and you have on hand. And then I'm actually going to mix it with some baking powder and some salt right in here. And then I will bring that together with a little bit of liquid. And again, you can use any liquid that you have on hand. Like this morning, I realized that I don't have any more butter. We usually have fresh butter from our neighbors, and I didn't have any. So I was actually thinking, if I don't have any, maybe I'll just do the biscuits vegan. So I have a kind of a vegan cream cheese here, like a cream cheese and a vegan butter that can be used. So I'm actually going to mix a little bit of cream cheese together with some oat milk, and I'm going to just kind of bring those together. So I have kind of like a yogurt consistency. And this is the nice thing about these biscuits, that, you know, you can use anything. You can use yogurt, you can use cream, you can use chèvre, you can use quark for all these like German visitors, German people around who are listening to us. And then I'll kind of make like a yogurt consistency out of oat milk and cream cheese. And these are both vegan, which is kind of gives it a new twist. And I'll make a little, I'm just gonna grab one of the whisks here. And I'm going to stir up the dry ingredients first. I'm just gonna whisk them in. And then I'm going to add some butter to it. And again, in this particular case, I will use vegan butter. And the vegan butter tends to melt very quickly. This is a cashew blend, a cashew coconut butter blend. So it tends to be really warm very quickly, and especially in like warm temperatures. So I kept them in the freezer just for about like 15 minutes or so, so they get really nice and hard. And then I'm going to just use a knife. You can also use a fork or a pastry knife. And I'm just going to cut that in. I'm just going to cut the butter in chunky, really leaving it chunky. Very simple, not really any big fuss. Just gonna cut it in to make it a bit faster. I'm gonna be a bit faster if I use like a pastry cutter, but it works, a knife and a fork work really well too. So just gonna cut those in. I really want to keep some of the chunks still intact that are in my butter, so it's going to be still very chunky. I'm also trying to be really quick, so I'm not getting the butter too warm. And then I'm going to scale out. In this case, I already know it, but you would have to scale out the amount of sourdough starter that goes in there. And this particular recipe will use a lot of starter. And you can really start collecting your starter from like 2 refreshments, maybe over the course of the 2 weeks in the fridge. And then you have enough starter culture to make like a full batch. Or you just kind of use your whole glass up for 1 batch. And then I'm just going to stir that in together with my yogurt, or in this case, it was a mix of oat milk and cream cheese. I'm just gonna really stir that in. And at this point, you have very plain biscuits. You really have like a super plain version, kind of called like breakfast biscuits. At that point, I have the rye culture, and the flour I used was wheat. So it's a rye, wheat, and just very, very plain biscuit that I would just stir up. And if you like, you could add anything you have on hand to the biscuits. Like if you want to make them sweet, like breakfast, sweet breakfast biscuits, you could add some fruits to it, like say blueberries or cranberries are nice. Any fresh fruit that's in season, you know, kind of like a berry scone almost. But you can also leave them just plain as they are, or even mix some cheese into them. Like you can use mixed cheddar cheese in them, or some chèvre, or really anything you like. I had this morning, I was just kind of using up some dates for a recipe and some figs. So I actually kept some figs and I had some overripe bananas. So I'm actually going to use those. I'm just going to fold those in. And from here, I'm just going to check what the consistency is like. And for me, I like them a little bit dry. So I keep them really deliberately very crumbly. But if you don't like them so dry, if you like them more liquid and more like kind of like a dough consistency that is more say like the mouthfeel of a scone, you would probably add some more milk, yogurt, or oat milk, or whatever you have on hand to it to make it. And at this point, I'm just kind of putting them on a I would put them on a baking sheet. I will just grab handfuls and pat them together like this. And I really just kind of, I'm very gentle. I almost leave them like crumbly and not really holding together, just like that. This is my timer. And from there, they're just gonna go into the oven. I put them on a sheet. I'll just in the preheated oven for about 15 minutes, and you will have like really sourdough discard biscuits, which give a good use of your discard in about not less than 20 minutes. You have them ready. So the whole thing takes about half an hour, and you would have like beautiful breakfast biscuits on the table. You could make this on Sunday morning when you are just refreshing your sourdough. That's kind of my routine. Usually Sunday morning, I refresh my starter. And then I just from all the discard, I make the biscuits, and I'm just gonna taste them. I just tasted them, and they taste really good, even the dough itself. Just like that. You know, you can make all kinds of variation, whatever you have in the house. Really, all you need is some form of liquid. You would need baking powder, and you would need a good butter or a vegan butter. And some kind of flour, and whatever you want to fold in it will work. So if there are any questions for the biscuits, you can let me know right now, because I think we have about like 5 minutes. So any questions for the biscuits, or even for the starter, if you are looking back of how to refresh the starter culture, or if there's anything unclear. This is a good question. We got a question here. If you have to use baking powder, or would it just work with the sourdough starter? Very good question. No, you would need some form of leavening, so a baking powder or soda with a little bit of a splash of apple cider vinegar would also work if you only have baking soda. The reason is the sourdough starter that you're using in this recipe is not active. As you remember, we pulled it out of the fridge, and we even collected that over like a week or two. So you will still have a really nice tangy taste to the biscuits when you use the starter. So you get like benefits of the beneficial bacteria in the starter and the taste, definitely. But you won't have the action that the starter is so active that it will actually lift your whatever you bake with it, because the starter is really basically over. But you still have very beneficial food that you're having in your dough. So this is the reason why you would need either soda, baking soda, or baking powder to actually not having a brick, but like some light biscuit. Right. And the recipe for the biscuits, I will send them to the Slow Food Youth Network. So maybe they find out a way to put them out somewhere. Or you can just go to my website. It's brotbakery.com, and just kind of send me a quick email, and there through the contact form, and I will email it to you. And both options are available. I will also send the recipe out to the Slow Food Network, so Slow Food Youth Network. So both are there, and If you have any other questions, always email me. I'm, available through email, or you can send me any comments through Instagram or through, probably not Facebook. I'm not really active on Facebook, but probably the best bet would be just to send me an email. Also, if you have any questions regarding the starter and how to refresh it, then go ahead, please be in touch. And I thank you for logging in. Have a lot of fun on the rest of the day today. I think there's going to be really great bakers and great recipes from all over the world, and I'm definitely going to watch. So take care, be in touch, and keep on baking. Thanks, guys.